Welcome back to Top Gun Podcast. We're gonna do episode 8 here, and we're gonna get started with some this week in sports and this week around the different leagues, different events that were going on. We're gonna do some Guardians preview. We'll do some MLB preview, and then we got a couple final thoughts that we'll kind of share around and talk about. But like always, we're joined with my special guest. I'll let you guys sound off. Go ahead.
What's up, guys?
We got Giovanni, Ohio Sportscast. Cooper.
Hello.
All right, we got Cooper Fontaine helping us out here, and Coach Kellerman.
Hey guys, how's it going?
All right, guys. So first, we'll get started with this week in sports, and first thing that I want to talk about is one of the biggest things going on right now, and that's the college basketball. Both guys and girls. We'll start with girls basketball. The one thing I wanted to kind of bring up was that UConn just dominated the national championship today. It was a 30-point win over South Carolina, who's just a perennial powerhouse themselves. What are your thoughts on the win? Anybody watch it?
I watched a little. I was just really shocked to see, Dawn Staley, who is like one of the women's basketball coaches of all time, go down just like that, to UConn, who obviously UConn's good, but I didn't know they were good like that. So it was really shocking to watch.
Yeah, I mean, she's a great coach. It was weird to see her that unprepared, I guess, is what it seemed like. But
Yeah, it's just crazy. Oh, go ahead.
Nope, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's just in the national championship game to win so dominantly. Like, just kudos to UConn for just being as dominant as they are, And I was kind of pulling for South Carolina. Dawn Staley's actually the school board lecturer this year at Mount. She's coming into town, so I was kind of pulling for her. So we had a little bit of talking pieces, but might be a little awkward now. But yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, she. Well, here's what I'll say. I mean, you gotta throw Gino Auriemma into the GOAT conversation. I mean, he might be one of the best college basketball coaches of all time. I mean, if not the best, put him above Coach K, Bobby Knight, those kind of guys. Like, he's 12-1 in national championship games. I mean, no one else can even come close to that. So I think he could do it with the guys too. I mean, though, just the way he coaches, that old school mentality, he's just one of the GOATs in my opinion, as far as college basketball goes. Okay. Men's bracket. We're down to the national championship game tomorrow night. We've got Florida and Houston squaring off, and that kind of broke most of our brackets. Coach Kellerman there kind of called the Florida team. I know that like 25% of America also picked Florida to win, but 25% still you're in a good percentage of people. Um, I don't know. What were your thoughts on? Let's start with the Auburn game, the first game, the Auburn Florida game. What were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. Auburn had been looking really strong, going all the way up, past Michigan State, past Michigan. But then, they kind of hit a brick wall when it came to Florida, and I mean, it sucked for most of my brackets, and that was it's not a shocker because it's one seed on one seed, and you can't say it's an upset, but that's not. I thought Auburn was going to win, personally.
Yeah, I think that Braun being hurt was a big factor there. I don't think he was obviously not at his best. So I think that played a factor in their dominance kind of throughout the year. And then him not being able to go full go definitely hurt them.
I just think this Florida team, like, it's crazy. You saw it the game before. Like, it doesn't matter how much they're down by. They're going to make it a game in the end. They're gritty. I really like Golden, their coach. I think he's got those guys ready to go. I mean, that Clayton, that point guard, he's special. That guy makes some crazy plays. Um, I really would like to see Duke versus those guys, but I mean, we'll get to that, I'm sure. But I just think Florida with those guards and some of those bigs that can pass the ball, they're dominant. And like I said, that's why I liked them in the beginning, just because their backcourt was so strong and they play fast. That's why it's going to be really cool to see them play Houston, who slows the game down. So
Yeah. Yeah, I really like I like Houston's coach. I think, he's old school too. Um, he's more of an X's and O's guys, and rather than just like putting the pros out there, I think that was the biggest thing with them against Duke was, he had the game plan against a really good Duke team. And when it comes down to it, and just like in any sport, if you can be within striking distance at the end of the game, that's where you want to be, especially if you're the non-favored team. And Duke kind of fell apart there in the last couple seconds. They kind of dominated the whole game, and then a couple missed free throws, couple clutch turnovers by Houston, or steals by Houston, and just led to a swing in the game. What were your thoughts on that one, Giovanni? I know you watched it and you were talking about it.
Duke played great. Cooper Flag was amazing. The other guy for Duke, he played good too. I was gonna root for Duke to go to the championship to play Florida, but all of a sudden when I saw the score, the final minute, and I said, okay, well, a comeback. Okay, well, I hope Duke still has this one in the bag. And after that rebound by Houston, Cooper Flag said, what? Because he got fouled, which is controversial right now. But I think Duke would have won this game if it was not for the controversial foul call by Houston.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like if you're that close in the final minutes, you want to take control of the game, because if you let the refs dictate it, then it's rarely going to work for you. Um, but
I mean, Duke was scoreless the last. Duke had one field goal, I think, in the last 10 minutes I saw,
yeah,
which is like insane, like to even think about with how many NBA prospects that team has, and that's just kudos again to like Houston's defense and their style of basketball is just it's different than most modern college because they slow the game down. They play transition defense very well. But yeah, I mean, if you go scoreless, they were up. I think it was like 8 minutes left. They were up by 10 or 12, and then to go scoreless for 10 straight minutes, like you're just asking for a disaster, and that's exactly what happened.
yeah,
There was one big thing too, like Proctor's bringing the ball up the court, and he didn't give it up the flag, and I think Proctor's like a 75 or between 75 and 80% free throw shooter, and Flag's like close to 90. I think that was one of the deciding factors as well because he missed the front end of the 1-and-1. So
yeah. I just know that it just seemed like Duke panicked. They're a young team, and there toward the end, they rubber met the road and they panicked and just kind of fell apart in the last couple seconds. I mean, I don't even want to say minutes. I know you had mentioned, and that's a good point, that they couldn't score at the end of the game. But there, when in clutch time in the last 30 seconds, they just kind of fell apart. They they blew it, in my opinion. They blew it. So, all right, we're gonna touch on a couple other things. First thing we're gonna talk on that happened this week or in the last couple weeks was the NFL coaches meeting. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because there's been a couple interesting rule changes. There were definitely some things brought to the table, nothing um, significant. I know that the tush push was kind of out there, and that they were kind of really, there were a couple teams that were really pushing to have that removed or the rules changed on that. But they ended up tabling it. So I know Cooper had some of this stuff, but Cooper, what did you have on the coaches meeting?
Yeah. So first of all, they had a change that I don't think is as it's not super important, but the board approved a request from multiple teams that allow staff members to prep game game balls for kicking, because like they prep the balls for throwing, like they break them in, but they're having multiple teams allow them to like break them in for kicking, and so that is one of the things that they're changing. So I don't know really how that's going to affect um, how balls are kicked, but that is one of the rule changes that they made. And then another rule change is I believe they changed the kickoffs, or at least that was on the board where they're moving the touchback line. Where I know this previous season it was a touchback; it goes to the 30-yard line, but I think they're trying to get more teams to actually return the ball. So the touchback line is being moved forward 5 yards. So a touchback is 35 yards. So I don't know.
Was there a rule also
Yeah.
where like if it's kicked out of the back of the end zone, it's got to be a fieldable ball, right? In order to Wasn't there a penalty if it was kicked out of the back? Or did I miss it?
I don't know. I must not have done that much homework, I guess.
Oh, you're fine. But
other than that, there were. Oh,
go ahead.
okay. Other than that, they have they've been banning some celebrations. So I don't know if you guys seen last year. CeeDee Lamb's big celebration was he'd like wipe the nose and then point forward for a first down. Can't do that anymore. No more. I know that this was already a thing, and this is a thing, a problem in the NBA, at least with the celebrations with you're brandishing a gun. I know John Morant and Buddy Hield are in trouble about that right now, but they're cracking down on that. So they're gonna be enforcing more unsportsmanlike penalties, and then it's not with celebrations, but there's going to be a new replay team, so they can. Uh, there's going to be an on-site replay official where they can reverse flags that are thrown for hits on defenseless players, fouls for face mask, horse collar, tripping, or roughing the kicker. So there will be a team that can reverse flags that are thrown for any of those offenses.
That'll be
But
nice.
they can't. Yeah, but they also can't go back and add a flag where
Right.
there probably should have been one called. But
Well,
hopefully that'll be good.
I think what that'll do too is it'll give them a chance if there's a play that so that the refs don't have to spend 30 more seconds talking about it. They can immediately get the eye in the sky to call down and just say, "Hey, pick up that flag," that kind of stuff. I think it's
Yeah, and
speed
then
speed up the game a little bit.
yeah, and then there were two. Neither of these, I don't. I think these were just brought to the table, but both of these were brought to the table by Detroit, where they're trying to change the playoff seeding. So wild card teams, if their record is higher than like a division champion, so like if a division champion is like they're 10-7, but then like a wild card team who like I think Green Bay was like 12-5. Green Bay, even though they didn't win their division, would have been seeded higher than this other division champion. So they're trying to get the playoff seeding changed, and then trying to change the way holding and illegal contact penalties work. So they no longer um, make a an automatic first down for the offense. So like defensive holding, illegal contact, or I want to say defensive passing. No, but they're just changing defensive holding and illegal contact. So they no longer make a first down. Or that's what Detroit wants to happen, but I don't think they're going to change that.
Okay. So those were pretty much the only rules that were changed was the kickoff rule, the um unsportsmanlike conduct, and then the eye in the sky for the refs, right? The others were just kind of like tabled.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I don't know. What's your guys' opinion on the CeeDee Lamb wipe the nose point first down?
I mean, CeeDee Lamb always does that when he gets a first down and he does the nose wipe celebration, and I thought it was a good celebration, but now it's banned and you can't even do it anymore. So in my opinion, the nose wipe celebration is banned because that's unsportsmanlike for the other team, and I feel like it was a good rule to ban this celebration.
Yeah, I don't know. There's far worse celebrations. I think the gun brandishing one is definitely something that they need to hit on, but like wiping your nose, like I don't know. Coach Kellman, what do you think?
I mean, I think that's kind of, I mean, to put it in layman's terms, it's kind of soft.
Right.
I mean, I don't really know what it's insinuating that's offensive to anybody. Maybe it has to do with, keeping our immune systems clean. Who knows?
Well, I mean,
But
I guess, and I might be kind of ignorant to it, but I guess if it like insinuates the use of drugs or something, but that could be.
yeah, that's a good point.
I know that like a lot of
Oh,
a lot of times like they try and focus on like you've got kids watching these guys, and CeeDee Lamb's like the face of the Cowboys right now, right? And so like you don't want some 10U kid walking out on a flag football field just hitting somebody with brandishing a gun, that kind of thing. I think that's where they're like headed with some of that, but I think
yeah. So,
that one's kind of soft in my
so
opinion.
then,
Go ahead.
yeah. Well, I just googled it. The nose wipe celebration is it's a gesture associated with the Bloods gang. So maybe they do want to actually ban that.
Okay.
I don't think they should be doing
There you
any
go.
gang affiliated
There's my
Okay, well,
activities.
ignorance.
that checks out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think I don't want my 10U son hitting gang signs in the middle of the field. Right. Yeah. Uh okay, yeah. I don't know. There's definitely the gun one. What are some of the other banned ones? Did they bring back you're allowed to hit the peace sign going into the end zone, right? I haven't seen a flag for that in a while.
Yeah, they still have that.
Like the Tyreek Hill going in.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeremiah Smith hit that on the national championship game. They didn't throw a flag, but that's college football. I don't know but
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know of any other ones that are banned. I just know a lot of them, have become mainstream in our society too, which is crazy. Like,
yeah,
obviously, the gritty was a big one a couple years ago with Jamar Chase and influenced like a song about it. You know what I'm
right.
saying? And like, I just feel like a lot of these things become a popularity thing. I know the big one last year was like and then point to the first down one. Maybe they'll ban that one for excessiveness. Who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't
yeah.
have a problem with them.
I know,
It's like
like,
if you don't want them to do celebrations, then stop them. Like make a play.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm all about having fun in the league,
Right.
so I don't really have a problem with it. I know, like, some of the other ones were like lewd and sexual behavior and like gestures in that way, but I don't have a problem with them getting rid of that. I just, these guys come up with some funny ones. I like those ones, but you're right. If it's gang affiliated, drug affiliated, violence affiliated, maybe like
Real quick, touching on Cooper's kickoff return rule, like they've messed with the kickoff so much in recent years. It's almost like just get rid of it. Like
yeah,
eventually, you're going to start with the ball on the 50-yard line. Now it's the 35. I mean, I always knew it as a 20-yard line, right? That's where you get the ball. Start with the 20-yard line. You might as well just, all right, hey, they scored a touchdown, kick the extra point. Here, you get the ball right here. I just think it's crazy you're messing with a part of the game. Like special teams is the third phase of a football game. Like it's super important, and to totally take that whole that whole concept of the game basically out of football, it's crazy to me. And they're just messing with it way too much.
yeah. I agree with that too. I mean, if you ask the average football fan, even like if you said, okay, what are the kickoff rules? Even before these rule changes, I doubt anybody could even tell you, like, all right, if it's kicked out of the end zone, where does the ball go? If it's kicked in front of the end zone, what happens? If it's, I, I, they've bounced around so much that I think that they just need to put something down and just hold it for like 5 years and see if it works. But you're right, like, either get rid of it or leave it alone. So, all right. The other thing that's been happening, we're in the QB carousel right now. We got a lot of free agent moves since our last podcast, and then we have a lot of like rumblings in the free agency world. There's still some teams without quarterbacks, and it sounds like they might be waiting for the draft to make that move, or to possibly set up a trade. Like if they have a high draft pick, go after a quarterback in a trade away that draft pick if they know that somebody else that they want falls further down. But Giovanni, what do you have for us? You're our local Adam Scheffler.
Well, I think the Russell Wilson signing with the Giants was pretty much, I don't know, Russell Wilson with Jameis Winston. I mean, I don't know who's gonna be QB1 for them, and they're not even gonna take a quarterback now. And the Sam Darnold to the Seattle Seahawks. A good quarterback move for them. I hope he's a good fit for them, and hopefully he will be the next version of Geno Smith. So that's what I got.
Yeah, I would pay good money to be a fly. I mean, if HBO and Hard Knocks doesn't pick up the Giants for that, I mean, to be a fly on the wall with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, just the weirdest things are going to come out of that QB room. That's just the weirdest quotes. That will pure entertainment. Um, I don't I don't know how I feel about the Seattle move. I don't think they have much of a team right now. I know they need a quarterback, but to pay somebody like Sam Darnold, I guess, do they have him for one more year? Did they sign him to a bigger contract?
3 year, $150.5 million for 3 years.
I don't know how I feel about that move. I feel like they need to go into rebuild mode for a couple years. I mean,
Yeah.
they got rid of their best wide receiver. They still have Njigba, but they don't have much else to help. No running game. Their defense is falling apart. Newer coach. I don't know. I need to get some draft picks out of that.
I think that's a testimony to how much the Vikings are high on JJ McCarthy, which I honestly, not just because he's a Michigan guy, but I just think that's insane. Put that much stock in a guy that hasn't played in the NFL down to
Right.
Sam Darnold was in the MVP conversation through week like 12 last year, which is like crazy to say. So I don't know. I think that just puts pressure on McCarthy and the Vikings that they made the right decision with him.
Yeah, I mean he's coming off a big surgery too. I mean, a
Right.
season-ending surgery, so that you're right, that is a lot. I mean, there's still some guys out there that'll be backup quarterbacks or looking for like free agents. I mean, Kirk Cousins still hasn't found anywhere to land. And he's been a part of that system before. I know he left. I don't think they'd go after him, but uh, there's some guys that they could go after. What's the latest on the Browns, Giovanni, as far as quarterbacks?
Pretty much nothing yet except waiting on Nick Chubb, but
Yeah.
nothing much.
Do you think they'll go after somebody in the draft, or you think that they'll
I don't know really.
just
Some say we should draft Shador. Some saying we should draft Abdul Carter. I mean, we do need a quarterback because Watson is done in Cleveland. But I want Shador Sanders to be our next quarterback. I don't want Abdul Carter to pair up with Myles Garrett.
No. I definitely think it's going to be awkward in Cleveland now because after Haslam's I don't know, coming out and basically saying they struck out on Deshaun Watson. I mean, that's a weird quote to have when you're still in the middle of a guy's contract. But I know it hasn't been good, so I think he's just being honest. Um, I don't know. I'm not high on Shedeur Sanders. I don't know how you guys feel. What do you think?
I saw recently that the idea has shifted that the Browns are going to take Travis Hunter with two. Those reports came out today that they're going to go that route and then maybe trade back up if Shador falls or snag a guy like Jackson Dart. Those are the two rumors that came out today, like on Twitter and everything. But Travis Hunter to Cleveland seemed more and more likely at 2 is what I read. So that'd be kind of wild. I mean, I don't know if it for sure helps us. I mean, getting a Heisman winner that can play multiple positions, who knows? I personally think he's a little undersized. But if Cam Ward falls to 2 and the Titans take Abdul Carter 1, I think a conversation has to be made that, I think you take Cam Ward at that point.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If you can get Shador and Travis Hunter in the same draft, that'd be something Cleveland would definitely try to pull off, knowing their track record. So.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's looking more and more like the Titans are. I don't know. I think they'll go after a quarterback. I don't think they're sold on Will Levis. So if like somebody that they are willing to pay is on the board, they'll go get him. So I don't. It just depends on what the scouts see in Cam Ward. If they think that he's a franchise quarterback, they'll do it. But I don't know. I think you have a stronger draft class coming out next year with quarterbacks. So if they go playmaker route or defensive route with Abdul Carter, they could just if they tank again this year, they go back and get a quarterback that they want. It's a lot more heavy with quarterbacks next year. So I could see that happening. Cooper, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland Browns, not really my team, but um, it's hard because I've seen some things about, Shador Sanders doesn't really have an arm. Maybe but I'm not really sold on him either, like Kellerman said. So I think it's hard because Browns defense is really strong, but they say defense wins championships, so you can go one of two ways: make that defense stronger, or take a struggling offense who doesn't have anyone besides uh, Kenny Pickett at quarterback and try to make that stronger. So it's like it's you're really like stuck on a tall fence there for Cleveland, and you got to get down on one side.
Yeah, I mean, the other hard part is you have two great teams in your division. You have the Bengals and the Ravens right now, and the Steelers are always a 500 team. So it's hard to get past all of them. You almost need to do kind of like what I said the Titans should do is just reload. Maybe go next year after a quarterback, go defensive or playmaker in Travis Hunter, and then go get a quarterback next year, hopefully out of a better draft class.
The Haslams and the Mannings are really tight, just saying. So I wouldn't mind Arch Manning next year, but
Oh,
who
give me
knows?
give me a Manning all day. All day. All right, guys. So the next segment of this broadcast here, that what we're going to work on is we're gonna kind of talk a little bit, shift gears. I know we missed kind of the first 2 weeks of the MLB preseason, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Guardians. We're going to look at some of their highs and lows, their impact players, coming off last year, and then we'll talk a little bit about our MLB preview and kind of what each of us think about each division. I know Coach Kellerman and myself both played collegiate baseball. We watch a lot of baseball, and maybe we can add to that a little bit. But um, yeah, I'd like to get a good Guardians preview before the season really gets too deep. We missed the first part of it, but I don't think too much has happened as far as the season goes. So we'll get started. The Guardians are, here's the good part. They're struggling right now. Um, they got to win today, but the good news is the AL Central sucks right now, and so they're sitting tied for second place. But wha- what do you guys think are the strengths of the Guardians? Going into this year, coming off of a great season last year, lost in the playoffs to the Yankees, who are a juggernaut. I mean, between them and the Dodgers, no one had a chance. But what do you think going into this year? What are the strengths of the Guardians that are going to have to, kind of be the workhorse of the team to get them to that point?
I'll go first. Pretty much the strengths that we need is Jose Ramirez. Just keep doing Jose Ramirez things. I know I saw his 3 home run game on Friday night, and I was really impressed with him on that night. And then Kyle Manzaro, the first ever 2-run home run on opening day versus the Royals, and I think Kyle Manzaro might have a breakout season, and Emmanuel Clase needs to like keep stepping it up since that Yankees playoff series last season. I think we can go on a run here. We just gotta play more ball, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been impressed with Emmanuel Clase. That was one of my strengths, is the bullpen. I will give him credit. He was last year he was the best closer in baseball. But I don't know if he had that dog in him, if you know what I mean. Like when things got tough, he kind of folded a little bit. You kind of saw the same thing from Aroldis Chapman back when the Indians played them in 2016. How like when things didn't go exactly how they usually go for him, he just absolutely crumbled, and that kind of like started the downfall of his career. I know he's still pumping 100 miles an hour and he's closing for teams and he's a great bullpen guy, but just isn't what he was then. So, um, anybody else have any strengths they want to touch on?
I mean, I not really to piggyback too much off of what Giovanni said, but Jose Ramirez, 3 homers. He's just a beast, you know. He's still stepping up and being that guy for the Guardians. So he's just got to stay healthy, hopefully.
Yeah. We lost Kellerman. We lost your sound. It's all right. See if you can figure that out. Well, so here's what I have with my strengths. I had our bullpen. I think the bullpen is going to be the number one thing. I you know, I think that when you look at baseball nowadays, like there is no longer the your starter goes 7 or 8 innings. It is now your starter needs to go 5 innings to 6 innings, and then there's about 5 or 6 guys that can just close the door. If you need 4 more innings, you got one long relief guy, one setup guy, and then your closer, and that's how a lot of teams. I mean, Terry Francona, he kind of started that with the Guardians, and I know there's a lot of teams that have kind of piggybacked off that. If you don't have a solid bullpen, then you're putting a lot of stress on your starters, and that stress kind of carries on throughout the year. And then when the times get more and more clutch or needed for clutch, then they don't show up in like playoff situations. And so I think that's one thing that helped the Guardians get to that point that last year was their bullpen was so good. And they do. They still have a really good bullpen, and they always have that good farm system. You got guys like Hunter Gaddis and Cade Smith who are just dominant. They're probably top 10 in the relief pitcher kind of role in the game. But then when you have Emmanuel Clase who can just come in and throw 102 miles an hour and hit him with a slider, it kind of backs the other team onto their heels, and to generate one run when that other pitcher just has to throw 1 inning. I think that's a that's a huge strength of the Guardians is that bullpen. Um, I initially wrote down that a big strength might be the starters, but right now we're struggling. Um, Tanner Bybee was our ace, is our ace for the most part, and he I think he will produce. Um, I think he will be consistent, but I don't think he's what the MLB would consider as an ace. I don't think he's what Shane Bieber was or what some of those other guys were. So I I think that our starters will be okay eventually. We don't get Bieber back until probably like July. Um, and even then, you're coming off of a surgery that just isn't it isn't an easy surgery to return from. So that one's going to be interesting as well. Um, but yeah, I have our pitching is definitely one of our biggest strengths, and then always the Guardians. It's never the long ball. That's never our strength. Our strength is usually we play college baseball. We play for one run every inning. We don't worry about that. Can we put up 4 runs in one inning off of two back to back home runs, like those kinds of things. It's more or less, leadoff guy gets on, steals second, bunt him over, backdoor single, sack fly, that kind of stuff that really helps us. And then, like what you guys were saying, Jose Ramirez is probably, in my opinion, one of the most consistent baseball players in Major League Baseball, and he might be the best baseball player in all of baseball. And I say that, and what I mean is there's no other superstar out there other than maybe Mike Trout, and he's at the backside of his career, who goes out there and plays their position as hard as he does and still produces the numbers that he does. Now, Shohei Ohtani last year was just an anomaly with how many stolen bases he had, and doubles and home runs, and that was an MVP for the ages. But I think that Jose Ramirez year after year is in the MVP conversation, and just not a lot of guys can do that for 4 or 5 straight years. And so I think that's a testament to how much he means to the team, and I am really glad that they paid the man. Um, Now, he probably had better offers, but, uh, he likes Cleveland. So, I'm glad he likes Cleveland. Yep, I can hear you now. I'll get your feed in. What do you guys think? Actually, Kellerman, as I give me 1 second here. There you go.
There we go.
Alright, did you hear what I had to say about, Cleveland's strengths?
Yeah. I was before I cut it out. Someone was FaceTiming me and it jacked it all up.
Nah, I gotcha.
But what what I was gonna say is that middle to bottom part of the order has to find a way to produce. You can't rely on hitters 1 through 4 to win you games. I mean, baseball's it's an individual game when you're batting and when you're pitching, but at the end of the day, someone's got to hit you. You can't solo home runs aren't going to win you games. Like you got to be able to rely on the guys behind you to play the game the right way. I heard you touching on it. Like they play the game, they do the small things. They play small ball to try to win games because they don't have guys like Judge and Harper and all these guys that hit home runs left and right. So guys in the middle of that order to bottom have to find ways to produce. I think I overheard you guys talking about the bullpen too. Like, I just don't know if you can rely on that solely. I understand in tight games, we get to our bullpen 7, 8, 9 last year with Cade Smith and Gaddis and Clase were lights out, but you saw at the end of the series in the playoffs last year, Clase wasn't the Clase we knew. And when it comes crunch time, you got to bear down in tight games, and sometimes it's going to cost you. I heard something like his cutter wasn't cutting, and when you're going to throw a cutter, it's got to cut, or it's going to be fat down the middle. So there's just some things that got to work out. But like I said, if you can find production out of 5 through 8, 9, that team can do decent things because of their pitching and how they play the game.
Yeah, I think you touched on some good points there too. Um, the backside of their order too, to kind of piggyback off that, I think that those guys, like Rocchio in the playoffs, that was huge. I mean, he helped us get through a lot, especially when like Jose Ramirez wasn't producing. So I would like to see Rocchio do good. Um, I think that he's a gamer. I'd like to see Quan stay hot. I know last year was his best year, might be his best year, but still, I'd like to see him stay at the top. He's a fun guy to watch. He seems like a great guy to have in the dugout. So um, but yeah, I think that those are definitely things for the Guardians that could really help them. ESPN has the Guardians projected at 78 wins, which would put them below 500, and only 0.5% to make the World Series, and only 19% to make the playoffs. And that's kind of disheartening after how well they played last year. I think that, they played such a good couple series. They had such a good run. They were for a while there the best team in baseball and other than in the American League. And for big name companies to just turn on them and just say, well, we're going to go with this team that didn't even make who's the Boston Red Sox? They didn't even make the playoffs last year, and everybody's jumping all over them. So I know there were injuries and they made some moves, but to give us no love, to just say, Detroit and the Royals, they're just going to surpass us. I mean, that's probably good bulletin board material, locker room stuff. So we'll see how it works out. All right, so a little MLB preview. We'll kind of fly through this. I don't think we need to spend too much time on this, and you guys can kind of sound off based on what you know. Okay. But we'll go through. We'll do the AL. We'll do the NL. And I kind of saved the AL Central for last. I want to talk about them last because I kind of want to see our predictions on where the Guardians stand. Uh, just to see kind of how it plays out. So we'll start with the AL East. Right now, so you have the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, and the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts? I'll let you guys talk a little bit. Go ahead,
Well,
Giovanni.
well, the Yankees are pretty much dominating the East so far. And one game from last week, they scored like 20 runs in one game, and that was from those torpedo bats they just did. But I think the Yankees will go on another run here in the regular season and the playoffs if Aaron Judge can stay healthy enough.
Yeah.
But I would say that Aaron Judge and the New York Yankees will probably dominate the East this year.
Okay. Okay. I mean, that's the Yankees are a strong team. They lose Juan Soto, but what are your thoughts about the torpedo bats?
I mean, I heard today that the MLB commissioners said the torpedo bats are good for baseball, so it looks like um it's staying in the MLB so far and not going there. So I think those torpedo bats might just upgraded the batting average for the Yankees because they're hitting on those torpedo bats. That's why they scored 20 runs in with those torpedo bats because they hit the ball hard on that torpedo bat, and that's why they got home runs from it when they scored 20 runs last Saturday, I believe. So that's why I think the torpedo bats are a good um, baseball bat to play in the MLB today. So they're gonna stay here for a long time. So that's what I have.
Sure. So here's my take on the torpedo bats. I think it's all big shtick. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think that they played a really bad team in the smallest stadium in the major leagues, and I know that like guys like Jazz Chisholm, who don't normally hit a lot of home runs, hit a lot of home runs, but I don't see a big difference. And it's not like every team can't use it. Every team in the league can use torpedo bats. I don't have a problem with it. To me, it looks kind of ridiculous because you're hitting the bat is where you want to hit the ball. The bat is angled away from the middle, and so I don't see how I could see how a ball that you're trying to take to right field, if you hit it off a torpedo bat, that's going foul more likely than if you're hitting it off of a regular flat, like I don't want to call them flat bat, but a more like level throughout bat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a big shtick. What do you think, Kelman? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't improve hand-eye coordination. You still gotta hit the ball. I understand that, the sweet spot might be different. I know one of the big guys that was all about it was Volpe because he was complaining that he was getting jammed too much last year, and that's like, part of baseball. So they designed the bats to be fatter towards the bottom than the top. But like you said, I mean, it's not like it's a disadvantage to other teams because the availability is there for other teams to use them. But like I said, I think it's just getting blown out of proportion. And if it weren't the Yankees Yankees, I
Right.
don't know if we'd hear that much more about it than we would. Like if the A's were doing it, everybody would be like, all right, who cares?
Yeah.
But the Yankees are doing it, and obviously, whenever they're involved in something, it's a hot commodity. So,
Sure.
but also like in the Yankees' defense, like they don't need those. If those bats are giving them an advantage, like Judge is hitting 62 bombs with regular bats. So
Yeah.
like, what's it matter?
I guess we'll find out if he hits 72, right?
Yeah.
72 would be nuts. I mean, yeah, I guess that's the whole steroids conversation, right? You still have to have hand-eye coordination, but
Right.
when the ball just flies off the bat, well, I guess we'll find out, right? Yeah, we'll see how the year goes and pans out. All right, so what do you guys? We got Giovanni. Giovanni thinks the Yankees are going to win. Anybody else want to sound off with who they think's going to take the AL East? Cooper, did you pick one?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Yankees. That's a huge, big market team there. They have the money that they're paying. They're paying Judge. They're paying all their guys. And another thing about the torpedo bats, I think it's like the whole availability thing that Kelman was kind of touching on. I think that's similar to, like, in my opinion, the Guardian caps, where it's like I don't really know what all it's doing, but anyone can have them for their team. And so that was just my opinion on the torpedo bats. But yeah, I think probably Yankees are probably going to take the AL East, but I wouldn't be terribly shocked if the Blue Jays with Vladdy Jr. kind of popped off, at least at the end of the season, and made a little run for that division.
Yeah, they have got a nice young team. Kelman, you have a pick.
Yeah, I was high on the Red Sox this year. I know you were joking about, everybody jumping all over them this year, but I just think like the Yankee starting pitching is a major concern. And I think, the Red Sox are a very well balanced team. They've got some young studs stepping up. I think, they just extended Christian Campbell, who's a young prospect, the other day. Willier Abreu, who's like one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now. And they're doing it without Dever. Dever just got his first hit like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So which is crazy to think about. But I think they're going to be a team to kind of be reckoned with, especially with their starting pitching and bullpen with
Yeah,
the offense they have.
I'd agree. I mean, I think the last year they were such a bad team because of so many injuries. Um, but yeah, going and getting Bregman and Walker Bueller and Trevor Story will help him being injured, but like that team will be solid top to bottom in their lineup. Like the conversation we had about the Guardians, it's going to come down to their bullpen as well. And so it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. The team that I really like, I want to see the Orioles do good. I love their style of play. It reminds me a lot of the Guardians. You have a lot of young guys who are like kind of blue collar. They're not big home run hitters or like these big stars yet. I think they will be, but I mean they got a team with like Roshman and Holiday and Henderson, and those guys are those guys are good. I mean, I've seen them play in person, and they just they hit the ball hard. I think that the Orioles' biggest downfall was their pitching. I think it came down to pitching, and they did not have the depth at starter or in the bullpen. So it'll be interesting to see if they make some moves to go and get some guys. But I uh, I did like Boston as well. I think that they had a down year last year, and I think that they made some moves to really help themselves. Um, Endeavors will come out of it. I mean, he'll hit the ball. He's an all-star. He'll figure it out, but yeah, for sure. All right, the AL West. Anybody thoughts? Who you think's coming out? This isn't a really good division. So
Rangers. I'm a big Rangers guy this year.
yeah,
I think the Astros are on the decline. I know they got Paredes and Christian Walker this offseason, but um, I don't know. I just think their pitching, their pitching's been up and down the last 2 years, not healthy. They got a couple guys like Luis Garcia and um, the young guy, I can't think of his name right now, McCullers, who hasn't pitched in like 3 years. And like I said, like the middle, the bottom of their lineup too. After Jordan and Christian Walker, it's a little hit or miss. But I think the Rangers. I mean, people sleep on the Rangers. The Rangers won the World Series 2 years ago.
Right.
Last year they had the World Series hangover. They had injuries. Now their bullpen isn't very good. I just know that from
Yeah.
personal experiences with fantasy baseball. But I really do like the Rangers this year. Their lineup from top to bottom is pretty stacked. So yeah, that's my pick for the West.
Yeah. I had the Rangers as well. I think they've got a good young team. I think, they're kind of centered around Corey Seager. I think that he's perennial all-star. He kind of reminds me a lot of he would be who I would compare to like Jose Ramirez, somebody who's there every day playing the infield and then also like just showing up to bat as well. So I think that both of those are those guys are pretty good. Marcus Simeon, returning
And if you get
all-star.
a healthy year out of DeGrom, I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Right. And that was Uh Eovaldi, he's really good. So I like the Rangers as well. I don't think that the Astros are gonna I don't think they're gonna figure it out personally. But Giovanni,
Yeah, I don't follow the West that much, so this is going to be a difficult decision
give me
here.
a guess.
But I would pick the Rangers because I know they had the World Series hangover, just like Kellerman said. But I think they're still a good team. I just think they just need to like play more and need to, you know, get more home runs in them, and then the mounting and the pitching, they gotta like step it up
Yeah,
this year because last year they were not good. So I would say the Rangers will probably dominate in the West.
gotcha. Coop, did you do any research on the
Yeah,
West?
I definitely agree with. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like Kelman said, just won a World Series a few years ago, but also the Angels who, like you said, Morrison, Mike Trout is kind of coming to a more of an end of his career, and Astros with Altuve, he's getting up there. So it's not a very strong division. So I got the Rangers coming out of there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a real contender. I think the Rangers are the only contender to anything in the West. So, all right, the NL. We'll skip the Central, like I said, and then we'll hop over to the NL real quick. NL East. Now this division is a wagon. I mean, whoever comes out of there is a good team, and I think that they'll probably get two of the wild card teams out of there too. Um, Injuries aside, but I would say the biggest problem right now are the one of the favorites, the Braves. I mean, they cannot find a win, and they can't stay healthy. So that team, that's kind of sad because I like the way that they play. I like their style. I think that they've got some great players, but they just can't win ball games right now. And they're like we've been saying. I think the biggest trend is pitching, and they've been struggling big time. Um, but let's see what you guys think. AL East thoughts. Cooper, we'll go backwards. Start with you.
You mean NL East
All right, NL
or
East. Yeah, yeah.
AL?
Yep, NL East.
Yeah, it's definitely be a dogfight over there. Mets obviously another huge market team. They got Alonso, Juan Soto. They got Juan Soto paid. I would just like to say that first. But yeah, Mets obviously on paper they have a really strong roster,
Yeah.
but Phillies are leading the division. They got Bryce Harper, so it's just one of those
Yep.
divisions where it's like up for grabs. Whoever comes out of there is that's a dog. That's a dog team.
Yeah.
So I would say I I wouldn't be shocked Phillies, Mets, or Marlins. Honestly, who comes out of there
Yeah.
could be anyone.
Yeah. Giovanni.
Yeah, I would agree with Cooper as well. I think the New York Mets are pretty much gonna be a wagon this year because Juan Soto almost got like $800 million. Pete Alonso, the polar bear, is back with them. Frankie Lindor, former Cleveland Indian, he's of course there. I think they're going to be a bandwagon this season for the New York Mets. I think they might go in for a deeper playoff this year than last season. To be honest, that's all I'm saying.
I would hope. I mean, the amount of money that they're forking out for these guys, I can't even. I mean, I guess we grew up near Cleveland, right, where they don't pay anybody, but um, yeah, the amount of money that they're sinking into these guys, they better at least make the playoffs. Kellen?
Just to hit real quick, they aren't my pick, but the Braves really need to get Strider and Acuna back. Acuna's one of my favorite players like of all time. I just love the way he plays the game, and like he was the heart and soul of that team batting
Yeah.
leadoff. And with him out, they just have not been the same.
Right.
And they try to replace it with Jerks and Profar, and he goes and gets busted for 60 games or whatever it is. So yeah, they're falling apart. But my pick is the Phillies. I like the Phillies going into this year. I think that lineup again, top to bottom, is pretty solid. You got guys like Alec Boehm and Mondo Sosa. The Sosa dude came out of nowhere, and he's almost pushing Trey Turner and Bryson Stott out of a spot. But once again, like the difference between the Mets and the Phillies, in my opinion, is the Mets pitching just isn't it. I don't really know if they have the top dogs in the rotation to get them in deep in October, where you have a Cy Young candidate in Zach Wheeler. I really like the way Zach Wheeler pitches. They got Nola, Sanchez, Suarez. Like they're deep in their staff. Where like the Mets, where they got Kodai Senga. That's like off the top of my head.
Yeah, if you would have put this Mets team with the Mets team of 5 years ago, I don't know if they could be beat. You know, it kind of flipped when Francisco Lindor came over. They have all those pitchers like Matt Harvey and DeGrom and all those guys, and now it's offense instead of defense. So yeah, my pick is probably I like the Phillies as well. I think that the Mets, they still have some growing pains to get through. They've got Juan Soto locked up as long as he stays healthy and out of trouble and whatever else. But I think that the Phillies, though, they have more of a team chemistry, that they're kind of gritty. I like the way that they play. They're a high energy team, and so watching them play, it's every game, every moment kind of means a lot to them, and I know that when that comes to playoffs, teams like the Phillies will show up and show out. So, NL Central, this one surprises me. I guess not on paper, but NL Central, right now the Cubs are in first place, and I know last year they struggled. They were not good, but they have a lot of prospects coming up through, and I think that they might be decent this year. What are your guys' picks?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I think the Cubs this year might be the favorites to beat in the NL Central. I mean, you lose Belly Bellinger. You still got you still got dang, what was the guy with the last name S?
Suzuki? Seiya Suzuki?
Yeah, they still got Suzuki. They got pretty much the same team they had last season, but they were not good enough for the playoffs or anything. But I would say that without that Cody Bellinger signing, but the same team from last year to this year, I'm gonna say that Cubs will probably beat the NL Central this year. If they can get there, then the best teams in the NL Central.
Yeah. Cooper, thoughts?
Yeah, I like what Gio's saying about the Cubs, but I'm just kind of sad to see, players like Ellie De La Cruz, with the Reds just kind of rotting away at the bottom of the NL Central. Ellie, and then you got Paul Skeens on the Pirates, and they're it's kind of sad to see them on not very strong teams, but you know,
All right.
it is what it is, and I definitely think the Cubs are gonna waltz out of the NL Central.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the weirdest divisions in baseball because you have so much talent throughout the entire division, and there's only like two good teams. I mean, Skeens, you mentioned Skeens and Ellie De La Cruz. Those are two like awesome guys to watch. And I don't think Skeens will be in Pittsburgh for very long. I don't see that's typical of Pittsburgh to trade away anybody who they have is good. Um, and then same with the Reds. They don't pay many people. Not at all, ever. Um, Kellen, you want to go first for your pick, or you want me to?
I'll go. The only thing that scares me about the Cubs really is that Kyle Tucker signing or trade. Kyle Tucker's been kind of the heart of that team early on here. Him and Suzuki have been mashing the ball. But I honestly, I love the way the Cardinals have been playing. I know they're in close games and dogfights, but they got a lot of young talent on that roster, and
Yeah.
they got guys like Ivan Herrera and Lars Nootbaar. And if you get a solid Nolan Arenado year, I mean,
Yep.
he's only 32. He's coming off a bad year last year, but other than last year, the guy's been perennial third baseman. You know what I'm saying? So they lost Goldschmidt. Their starting pitching's a little Their bullpen's solid. So it's going to be nice to see the Cardinals and Cubs kind of duke it out all year in that division. And I picked the Cardinals at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
Coming in.
I'm gonna agree with you there. I think that was my pick. I think that when you look at depth, I think the Cardinals have the most depth across the board. I just think that they're more built for a playoff run or to get to the playoffs. I think the Cubs are they're still a young team. They kind of remind me of the Orioles in that sense. So they're a young team, really good, really fun to watch, but you know, they're one injury away from having their season ruined. Um, I know that you said that Goldschmidt's gone, but Wilson Contreras isn't anybody to sleep on either. So I think that he'll be a big factor. But yeah, Nolan Arenado is one of my favorite players to watch. So I think that he will kind of staple down that lineup. And Sonny Gray is also a really good pitcher. So I think that their bullpen will be okay. Um, and then finally, I don't even know. Do we need to debate the West? Like
Yes.
Dodgers?
No.
No? All right, let's hear it.
Padres, baby. I'm a big Padres
Is that
guy.
is that a recency bias based on
No,
how bad they beat the
no.
Guardians down?
No, so listen, I'm a big,
all right,
and this
sell me
might
on
be
them.
unpopular opinion. I'm a big Manny Machado fan. I followed Manny Machado. I love him. I have every single jersey of every team he's been on. I'm a big Tatis fan. Their pitching staff has been, they got some dogs in that rotation. I think they're going to be a force to reckon with the Dodgers. Obviously the Dodgers have top to bottom, names and money and the pitching and all this, but you still got to play the game. And the way the Padres play baseball, man, I don't know. I like the way they play. And I don't know. I watch a lot of Padres games, and when you're in that stadium, like that atmosphere is unbelievable sometimes. And when they play the Dodgers, they kind of turn it up a notch
Oh
too.
yeah.
So those are fun games to watch.
I
But
do think they have a good fan base. I think that
mm-hmm.
I think it's funny. Like sometimes, like you have a lot of these Dodgers fans who probably couldn't name any Dodgers players. I think that they go, you know, you have a really big city like LA, who's not. I wouldn't say they're a good sports town. I think that you know your good sports towns are the ones that have to like struggle for wins and struggle for players. That's why I think Cleveland is such a good sports town. I think that you know the fact that they can still support a team like like the Browns through thick and thin. Um, yeah, that's tough. But when you look at LA, I just don't. I don't. LA's.
I know. It's tough. It's tough when you look at it on paper. But I'm telling you, those games are going to be awesome. And if they play each other somehow in the playoffs, it'll be sweet.
Yeah, yeah. I think that that's definitely a playoff series I could get up for. Um, but I mean, the Dodgers like top when we say like bullpen check, starters check, lineup check. I mean, they spent the money. They went and got them. They just did. I guess they have the money to spend. So Anybody else?
And of course, they're getting like a prime Tommy Edman now, like and Conforto,
Right.
like guys that were just kind of like throw-ins, and now they're having Tommy Edman's batting fourth for that team. Like it's just unbelievable.
And guys you've never even heard of from Japan too. Like they're just like pulling them out of the woodwork.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it's easy to hate on the Dodgers. It's like hating on the Patriots when they went to like whatever 5
Sure.
straight Super Bowls. But what I was gonna say is the one thing I like about the Dodgers, that kid Roki Sasaki, he is awesome. I was watching a little bit of his film. He's pretty dope. So that's what I was gonna jump in and say. And also, I totally agree with you about the best sports teams being the ones that have to fight for players and wins. I 100% agree with you on that one.
yeah, I think that just you get a better fan base. I think that the wins mean more. I mean, like going to a Browns game, even knowing they're gonna lose, like I don't mind that. You know what I mean? Like it just it's just you get up for the game, you root for your team, and you get your pants kicked, and then you go home. But I mean, think about how bad they were. You turn around here in 2 months, we'll be ecstatic because we got so and so in the draft, and just pencil us down for the playoffs, right? It's just like we're delusional
Every year.
every year,
Every year.
every year. Okay, so AL Central. We'll wrap it up here. I would say that the AL Central is. I'll go first on this one and see what you guys think. I think that the AL Central is the most inconsistent division, and hear me out on this, in a sense of there is no team that is balanced per se, other than the Guardians, and I'll get to that. But Kansas City Royals, probably the best hitting team in the division, in my opinion. You have the Tigers, who are probably the best pitching team in the division. Um, when you put everything together, starters and bullpen. But I think that the guards are the best combination of both of those. I think that they have a great defense. I think that they have a really good bullpen. Starters are a question mark, and then um, they're hitting. They the only thing that they are lacking. They have great contact hitters. We don't strike out a whole lot, but they hit the ball, they get on base, they produce runs, and that's what it's about. So I think that the only downside is the long ball and maybe a couple starters here and there. Um, but I would say we stack up better for a regular season than most of the other teams. Thoughts? What do you guys think?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Guardians, they're pretty much the best culture of any MLB team, because you go to the Cleveland Guardians, you of course you're in Cleveland, and then of course you're hitting, you're pitching, they're pretty much great, but I'm worried about the bullpen. I know Emmanuel Clase is good, but the rest of the pitching on the mound there, it's giving the scare out of me. But I would say that the Cleveland Guardians will still win the AL Central despite their struggles right now.
Okay. Cooper?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, I'm not really a huge Cleveland guy, but I, you know, I wouldn't be shocked if the guards came out of the AL Central, but I'm personally rooting for the Tigers because, like you said, they're probably the best pitching team in the AL Central, even though that's not really a brand of baseball a lot of people want to watch, but it's it's the kind of baseball that's getting the Tigers, wins right now. Not a lot of wins, not as much as not as much as the Dodgers, but that's what's keeping them afloat right now. So I got to root for my town, so I got the Tigers winning the Central.
All right, Kelman. Thoughts?
It's a total toss up. Like we've been so lucky to play in one of the worst divisions in baseball, and that's why we're always where we are when it comes to AL wild card, ALDS, and then we lose because we'll get there because our division stinks, and then we'll lose to a team like the Yankees, or we'll go 7 or 6, whatever it was with Detroit, who was in our division, But I don't know. My pick, honestly, I think it's the Royals year. I think with Bobby Witt leading the helm,
That's good.
and Cole Reagans. Cole Reagans is a AL Cy Young candidate, young guy who I really like to watch throw. With the veteran presence of a guy like Salvador Perez, and you got guys stepping up like Vinny Pasquantino, who's compared to Eric Hosmer. I don't know. I am a Cleveland fan. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I've just been so so let down by them so many times. And like I said, we're lucky to play in the division we play in. But between the Royals, Detroit, and Cleveland, it's kind of a toss up as who's going to kind of go on a run and at the right time. If they go on a run late July, August, that team's probably going to come out on top. And who can stay healthy? So.
Right. Well, we saw it last year with Detroit and both Detroit and the Royals. Cleveland had such a big lead in the Central, and then out of nowhere, those two came in and just kind of like took away the wild card from everybody else. And so I do think that it all comes down to who's hot in the Central. Who knows what could happen there in the last couple months, September and um, October. But um, yeah, I do like the Royals as well. I like most of the teams out there. I don't think Minnesota's a team you can sleep on either. Um, so I think it's a good bad conference or division. So like,
Can we sleep on the White Sox?
yeah, they put me to sleep last year. I didn't see them make many moves, but kind of also to bounce off what you were saying. I think that like that's where the Guardians ownership gets away with it is like, oh, you have this team that makes it to the ALDS and the LCS every year. We don't need to go get anybody. We don't, and so they don't have to worry about spending money because they have a good team, but they never have a team that's going to win anything bigger than that. Like,
But that's what drives me crazy. Like, okay, so you get there, you're pretty close. I mean, you're going toe to toe with the Yankees. Go get 2 or 3 guys, and
yeah,
you'll be right there.
just get one long
Like,
ball
I don't
hitter,
know, man.
somebody to protect
Right,
Jose in the middle of the lineup.
right.
Carlos Santana is not it. I like Carlos Santana. I really liked Carlos Santana in 2016, but that wasn't the move. That was a lateral move in my opinion. I don't think that I mean, Bo
The
Naylor
year they
or
went to the
Josh.
World Series, they made all the right moves. Think about what
Yeah,
they did. They got Andrew Miller. They got Edwin
Encarnacion. Yep.
Encarnacion. Like they did it right that year, and look where they got. So I
One
don't
out
know.
away. Yeah, like
Right.
yeah.
So
So okay. My prediction for NL and AL and then World Series. I got the Dodgers, Red Sox, Dodgers in 6. I don't know if I told you guys to think about this, so let's hear your best guess. Go ahead, Giovanni.
For the NL first,
Just who's playing in the World Series, who's winning.
and I'll say, I know you're gonna be crazy for all this, but I got the Guardians versus Dodgers in the World Series, and I'm picking the Guardians to win the World Series.
I love it.
That
I
a
love
boy,
it.
Giovanni.
I love that.
Love it. All right, Cooper. Who are the Tigers playing in the World Series?
I don't think the Tigers are gonna make it to the World Series. Um, yeah. I like that Red Sox pick, but I probably have. I like the Rangers meeting up with the Dodgers, or honestly, or the Padres. Like Kelman was saying, I like the Padres as well. So
I can't wait.
I think I got the. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. It's hard. I don't know. Give me the Rangers coming back after like 2 years.
That's a bold pick. All right, Kelman.
I like it.
Bring us home.
I got the Phillies in 5 over the Rangers.
Whew.
Yep.
Okay, Phillies in 5.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got the Dodgers, the Guardians, the Phillies, and Cooper. Who'd you have?
And the Rangers. Rangers.
It's a good spread. All right. Well, gentlemen, thanks again for coming on. Uh, as always, it's been fun talking. we'll have another one here soon.
For
Thanks
sure.
again.
Thank you, everybody.